And now, Mr. Joel Giral from Information Systems Bureau will moderate this roundtable. Didac, do you want to join us? We want to hear your opinions and experiences. You made enough listening today. Just talk, explain. I will leave the table to let you talk. If you don't, I'll be back.
Okay, hi everybody. Thank you very much for all the speeches, also for the previous speakers. Well, I was, during the whole conference, I've been trying to point to different topics where they were talked about. And I found out that there's a wide range of topics that we talk about. For example, several speakers talk about breaking silos, innovation, failure, sustainability, future, citizens, big data, human-centered. So, and I think what it happens, it's a little bit that smart city is a fuzzy concept, so it's not well defined or it's under definition. And I don't know if you are all, if you all know that during this is part of a week where several people from other universities from 11 different countries came here to work on what's going to be a smart university. Therefore, I would like to open to anybody if you want to ask any questions to them or to the people who talked before. And I wanted to be standing and forcing you to talk because I think maybe it's a bit difficult for you. But I would really appreciate if you guys talk about things that you are thinking about, the smart city and a smart university, questions that you may have. Is there any question in the... ¿Tenemos el micro? Well,
Last year, first time I cycled during the winter time. It was -20 or a little bit more, and the e-bike worked wonderfully. Actually, we have in our university about 20 e-bikes that students and staff can use, and we can recharge them with solar power in the university, so they are very good. I recommend.
In fact, my experience, I started going to school by bike when I was around 10 years old, and I've been going to the school and to the university by bike until I finished it when I was 25 years old. So it's 15 years going on winter, on summer, raining. I had even special clothes, and when you start and you use it every day, that's really changing.
Hello, my name is Cesar Vargas. I wanted to ask, what do you think that it's the future of this thing going to? Because what I'm seeing is that a smart university, each university has its own model, its own platform, its own way of working with it. And the same thing's happening with the cities. Barcelona is working with something, Zaragoza is working with another thing. Each one it's going like throwing pebbles and things out to see what is working better for them. But actually, probably we at this moment live on one city, and for us it's very simple, this and that. But for instance, this sir that lives in San Cugat, one day they will implement something, and probably will be a little bit more different than what it's going to be implemented here in Barcelona. So probably a person will have like 3, 4 citizens cards and 3, 4 different kind of systems and try to access to different kind of things in different platforms. What do you think that is going to be this kind of future, and what is going to be the tendencies for your different way of life and working? So probably for a person that is not into IT, is a regular citizen and try to go from one city to another and trying to find solutions for them, how these platforms are going to be a lot more stabilized and more not so different.
Well, I suppose everybody has a different answer for that question, but it's a good question, okay? I believe that the smart is something like a kind of fashion, okay? And even it's a technological driven fashion, and it's following clearly a hype cycle, the Gartner hype cycle, okay? So everybody's talking about it, and even some people say that it's like teenage sex, that it's everybody's thinking about it, nobody knows how it works, everybody says they are doing it, and most important, everybody is thinking that other people is doing it, okay? So smart cities and so on, it's something similar. But I believe that the standard hype cycle, it's now falling down, and it's an interesting moment because, let's say, all the smoke, it's vanishing, but there are some clear and useful application for all this kind of new technology. And basically today this is, from my point of view, it's how to manage in a more efficient way the big amount of resources we use in managing cities or universities or so on. So this is for me today the most clear application on all of that. And basically the main areas is energy, is mobility, and is waste management and environment. This is the idea. After that, I believe that when we start to manage a new kind of information and generate new kind of information, it will be full of new applications that we will see in the future, but we cannot imagine it today because it's something like internet. At the beginning, it was basically used to watch porn, and after that, it's been used for a lot of things, and a lot of things that we could not imagine in that moment. Okay, so this is something similar. We will use this kind of technology to manage better some services, some, let's say, universal services, but after that, there will grow new applications, new business models, and new users for these technologies and for this information. And in the hype cycle, it's not been only an issue for companies. Obviously, all kind of governments and city governments and so on has made a lot of hype about the concept. But this is a standard process in all the innovation process we're living. Okay.
I can talk you a little bit.
Just briefly, I have a complementary or different view. I think that the problem with small cities, besides the problem of the teenager sex, is that actually this is, people talk about this as if it were internet, but actually it's completely the opposite, because internet grow from the root up, and a small city is being driven mostly by governments and vendors. That's reality. But that's not a problem. That's a reality because a small city requires an initial investment in a lot of technology, and development is risky, there is no revenue, so nobody will do it by business. The same happened with internet at the beginning. It was driven by university because there was no business there. I mean, internet was not created by Facebook. Facebook was created by internet. Who created internet in the first place? So I think that basically what is happening now is that we are creating all the infrastructure with the help of government and corporations that are somehow creating that infrastructure. And eventually we will have the business on top of this. We are not yet there. The main difference I see is that we lack all these open standards. And that's something that worries me a lot because I suffer this day by day. I mean, even within the same municipality, if you talk to two different departments, they will ask you the data in two different formats. So I think that probably the most single important step towards having a smart cities and solving the problem, you think, is to start making more effort on open standard for changing a smart city related information. I think that's something we are lacking, the TCP/IP of the smart city, so to speak, something that allows the information to flow.
I can share you a little bit of my personal experience. In 2006, I developed a system to, with a network, field network, CPD, Central Processing Center, Data Processing Center, and sensors in Zaragoza, which is called Valdespartera, which is monitoring all the public infrastructure and controlling irrigation systems, public clean water for drink, sewage, and illumination, the closets to control the lamps and so on. All these public services, all the information was collected, processed in a central server, and then each department on the municipality had their own views, their own data, and they didn't share data between, even if it was in the same platform, they didn't share data between them. And this was developed in top of a industrial SCADA system, which can be then further developed by other contractors. So it's a kind of a standard platform that many companies can develop. Some years later, we did something similar in Barcelona, integrating public infrastructures like elevators and staircases and fountains and things like that. We did use same platform, but we had to start by uniting the communication networks that they were using for each infrastructure, because each company that had installed a staircase or an elevator or whatever was putting in place an isolated network with an isolated control computer and so on. So we did start by breaking these silos, making one unified network, then one unified central data processing center, and then breaking also the relation between the infrastructure and the maintainer. So you could, a maintenance company could contract the maintenance of several infrastructures independent of whether they were the company that did install the infrastructure or not. So this is breaking more silos about networks, about the companies and their infrastructure. So in that specific period, we did have to create some kind of a standard of what does the municipality need to know or want to know about an infrastructure, which is basically the service level. And later on, I was also involved in the Wi-Fi deployment in Barcelona, which is now being complemented with a contract from Avertis, which is taking all the network from the municipality and making one single network, renewing all the equipment and deploying all the services of the city over the same network. So it is gaining on operation cost, and also it's being able to provide services to other people. So it's all about standardization and breaking these silos. And what happens is that once you have these platforms working, you can go to other places and show it and say, okay, we can do similar approach, similar solution. It will be specific for you, but the basic concepts, the basic problem is the same. So now Barcelona is in top of this kind of platforms, deploying all the irrigation of the parks, developing on this platform and sharing the data through Sentilo and this open data and so on. Barcelona is leading the way. Sant Cugat is also a kind of city in this area that is important and leading these smart projects, and all the other cities basically are watching and following.
Just, I don't know the answer, but I'm seeing some kind of association of smart to efficient, and I think that it should be much more than simply efficient cities, because that's something that's been pursued in many years, and it's not really the new. I think the new comes if it's public open governance, and I'm a bit scared when I listen that some projects are just open to some big companies, and these companies have more information, more control to data than governments and citizens. At the end, I don't want to be the bad guy in the room, but I think that all these kind of revolutionary projects have to be accepted also democratically and in some kind of discussion and debate arena. And well, I see some flavors of things that are not happening like this. So I would always have some kind of critical judgment on these Big Brother experiments that would not be beneficial to society, I think.
Hello, I'm Javier Vázquez from the Intelligence System Group here at UPC. First is about what's smart cities. I don't totally agree that is not clear. There's a clear definition, you can find it on the internet. I can even read a short version of that one. Smart city is a term that refers to the smart management of cities' socioeconomic and environmental capital through ICT. That's the definition. Now, what's the problem? First, there's a hype, and therefore there are many people that are not really doing what the full definition, 20 pages definition says, and then they use ICT to do things about the city, but there is no real impact, which is one of the mandatory aspects of the definition. ICT should have a positive impact into the socio-economical capital of the city. And then second problem is that actually there is more than one view on smart cities. And as Mr. Chassin said, most of the effort is made on the top-down view of the problem. Okay, so I want to manage efficiently, smartly, mostly efficiently, the resources of the city, and therefore it's more about control, monitor, control, sensing, and so on. It's like a top-down view. And why is that? Because basically there's more money on the administrations for the big projects, the big infrastructures. There is many people in the community that says, actually the interesting thing to make a city smart, you should make smart the citizens. If you want a smart management of energy, you should make citizens learn a new behavior on how to use energy. And then there is a lot of things about education of the population, about empowering them with more information to take better decisions, shifting power into the full organigram of the city is part of this. And there are many things that are not technical, and people typically leave them out of the picture. So it's not that there is no definition. The problem is that there are many views, and there is one that is now getting most of the money, and hopefully the other view, which is the bottom up, is like being able to create new solutions, even making some of the citizens prosumers, that they offer services, not only consume them, and so on. And these are some of there are many people in the smart cities community that are going for this alternative view. And if we see universities as a potential lab for smart city-like solutions, maybe we should promote this alternative view, which is not so easy to put there. Although there is a parallel community that is the community for the Internet of Things. They are doing bottom-up solutions, and you have the smart city community and the Internet of Things community. They don't speak to each other. And maybe we should also find bridges to speak to their community and give us a little bit more energy to build the bottom-up part of the smart cities. Said all that, I think that, and it's part, a question for the table. A university is a mini city within a bigger city, but actually cities is like a population within a territory or a broader country and so on. Is university also a good place to look for a third direction, that is the impact of the city towards the towards the territory, which is sometimes again forbidden, forgotten?
I would like to make a couple of comments. One recurrent theme here is like technology is evil intrinsically. I used to muse about, the paleo diet? People that should, okay. Nobody tells you that people in Paleolithic usually didn't last beyond 30 years. So, it's that it was not perfect neither. So, being retro is nice, but it's sometimes misleading because the problem is not the technology or whatever. The problem is intrinsic to society. So let's face it. It's not Facebook, it's us. Facebook exists because we allow it to exist somehow, directly or indirectly. Because we don't control our government, because the government, we elect them. We don't live in a dictatorship, we live in a democracy. So at the end, we're co-responsible. If it's not, we need to fix it. So let's try to fix the problem where the problems are, not on the wrong side. We cannot fix problem going back to the Dark Ages or to the Paleolithic age. That's not the problem, okay? The problem is how we organize, how we behave as individuals and as society. Regarding the small city, I agree with you that unfortunately, most of these bottom-up efforts are lost, even within the university. I used to work here in the university, and sometimes people just in the next door was working on something that it was completely unaware of. So I think that we need to improve that, because that's one of the problems that this bottom-up effort have is that they never grow because people is not aware of that. So I think that we need to improve within the universities, because people say the problem is transferring information from university to the industry and to the government. Come on, we are not able to talk to the guy in the next door. Let's face it. If we don't solve this problem within the university, how can we pretend to solve problem in the society at large? So I think that the approach, as you said, I think the bottom-up is the right way to go, but bottom-up implies improving the way people communicate and how decisions are made also. The problem here is that we will face a conflict because we have bottom-up effort and top-down budget. That's not going to work. So again, the way money is distributed among university departments and stuff, and how money gets to the research groups, that's a lot of problems to solve. But I think we need to solve them. I mean, we can try to pretend to solve problems going fighting Facebook. Forget it. It will be another one, and another one after that one, because we're being in this situation for years and years because we are not solving the real problem. Facebook is just the last guy who make profit of this. As long as we have the problem, somebody will come and make profit of this. So let's try to solve the real problems: communication, organization, and how we really implement democracy, or what we call is democracy. I have my doubts.
I have just a brief comment. From my experience, what I felt when I went from university to private sector is that experimenting and creating new things changed from something free and fun to something that you must avoid because it costs money. I know it's a very limited view, but in some places you feel like that. You cannot learn, you cannot look, you cannot invest on doing new things because it costs resources. So this is something that maybe other people feel, and the university can help a lot to the rest of society by being free and creating and trying and failing and doing new things that maybe in private companies are not so easy.
Any more questions? Okay.
One more. Yes, Jordi Jarro from the University Consortium of Catalonia, and I'm now participating in this international week with all these people, and it's about the individual. This smart citizen that we have supposed that we have to be, and I think that the smart city have a lot of challenges, and my question for the table is that where is the border from the individual and the smart city? And as an example, if we are in an efficient smart city that manage the transport, for instance, the buses, and an individual and the whole system, the whole smart city, needs that this bus that is going through the diagonal have to return to the parking. For instance, that this decision, it's good for the city. But maybe for the citizens that are waiting the bus in this time is not the good option. It's only to see that what is the frontier, the border from the individual and the whole system to be more efficient.
I have an opinion on that. It's about transparency and avoiding paternalism. So I think if somebody thinks that the best option for the public good is to take this bus back, and does not inform anybody, that's really the worst case, because those guys waiting get angry, and they even don't know the reason why this decision has taken. So the first step, I think, is understanding people. The others are adult and need some information. Then they will decide what to do with this information, and if they want to complain, to promote an alternative, to create a solution, they will. In that tension or this bottom-up, top-down, I really like this kind of bottom-up innovations that, like with crowdfunding platforms appear. Just let me put an example. There's a campaign those days in Goteo to develop an app that allows you to know these guys in the parliament, how many sessions they attend or not. So are the politicians working? I think that's extremely good, and I've supported that initiative, because I say, well, that's really something I would use. What I mean is the worst for societal progress or whatever is opacity. The transparency is the first one, and I think that any step in that sense is very helpful.
Completely agree with your view. I mean, it's transparency and also more involvement in the control loop. Because the example of the bus is good, because you cannot pretend a large system to quickly react to individual demands, because it's really manageable. But what is important that on the long term, you gather enough information and feedback and get transparency on the decision making, and see if the decisions are aligned with the people is saying. And that's the problem. You never know. Government made decision and you never know based on what information. You only get information, they convince you it's based on something, but you never have access to the information they use to take the decision. And actually, you are not participating in giving that information many times. So I think that the more you have the open flow of information up and down, and the better you can achieve at the long term this adaptation. But not in I don't believe it will work in the short term, because it's too many conflicting demands. I mean, some people want to go there, but others want to go there. What's he going to do? On the long term, you need to know what's better for the whole community, and then how to attend individuals who are outside the common, because also need to attend that. But it's opening information and open decision making and transparency.
To compliment on that, it's a reflection about you can also show people how they should behave, or what is the optimal way of doing on very simple day-to-day situations. So the people is making the society that lives in the city, so it's all one. As an example, we think we are quite civilized here, so we sometimes let people go out from the train before going inside, sometimes not. In China, 4 years ago in Shanghai, it was really dangerous to get inside the metro because it's so crowded that people were fighting to try to enter and go outside at the same time. So they did put some policy in place to make the queues. It's blended in the floor with metal, so it's not just a sticker, it's metal, explaining the 4 queues for each door, where is the door going to be open, and nowadays there's even a person who is watching. So the queues are well formed, people goes out first and then go inside. It's a very simple situation, but what I mean is, even in so simple situations, explaining people what is the optimal behavior may help everybody evolve to get this optimal behavior. It's just a reflection.
We've got time for one more question or two. Anybody?
If no more question, I want just to complement something, is that regarding your point is that the main problem I see is that the government over the year has done an incredible good job in detaching people from the common and the public. It's like you are not, I mean, they say it's public spaces, but neither people think it's their space because it's managed by others. And that's where you see some behaviors that people, for instance, throw something in the floor. But it's my street. It's not the government street. You don't do that at home. Why do you do that on the street? Because the government has detached people from the public space and from the society. So I think that it's very important that people get engaged again with the city. When somebody, I mean, believe me, when I see somebody throwing something in the floor, it's like we're doing my home. I need to contain myself and say, okay, guys, relax. Because I don't understand. It's the street I'm going. It's my street. Literally, it's my street. It's not government street. So I think that a part of teaching people is also to re-engage in people with their city and the spaces and seeing that we are part of the problem also. We are not guilty, but we are part of the sense that if we think this government street, is government space, actually people think it's government money. No, it's our money. What's happened? That's why, for instance, we tolerate corruption, because they are not putting the hand in our pocket, but they are doing that, actually. But they have learned, oh, this is public money. What is public money? It's money out of my pocket. So it's my money still, managed for them. So I think that small cities need to be aligned with the re-engagement of society, of people with the city first. Otherwise, that's not going to work either, because it's not our city, it's other people's city.
Un minute.
Help make this cultural change into citizens in general? Because we typically think on ICT for managing data, for sensing, but can ICT also help people?
I think the example we have with the power consumption is just to give feedback. Transparency and flow information, that is. People is not stupid. Most people is just misinformed. Most people don't have information about anything what's happened here. People is not stupid. Most people is really intelligent because they are able to survive. I always say that somebody that get alive outside of the kindergarten is smart. That is. From this point on, everybody is smart. Therefore, the problem is most of the people don't have any clue, any information. I'm talking even about people who is in this university, has a very few information what's going on. Don't have information about the economy, don't have information about the political system. You go outside and ask people how the election system in Spain works. has no clue. What's the relation between your vote and the people who's sitting in Madrid in the chamber? Nobody knows. So I think the main contribution is just giving information. That is, transparently, openly, unless people get smart. That is.
I can give you some example. On energy consumption optimization, there have been many experiments. And at the initial stages, in these experiments, people was told that they were given the information about how much energy they consume, being electricity, water, gas, whatever type of energy. And then, okay, it's a lot of energy, but it's my way of living. Then the next step was, look, you are consuming 120, your neighbor is consuming 100, non-identified neighbor, but in the surrounding, so you are much less performing than him. And this was really challenging for people. So this kind of providing the information, but also being able to compare what is the optimal practices, that may help people to really make the effort to change and behavior and to change how they do things.
May I make a comment? Sorry. No, please. No, it's a different topic, so please.
Hi, I'm Roman. I'm part of this Exchange Week. I've got a question to the openness of data and basically how much openness is good and how much is too much, and how do you get people to care? Because I think after, like, for instance, like the after Snowden affair showed us quite simply that even people who then know what's going on, so they've got like the openness and the transparency that says something wrong going on. It's not like people are caring about it. So it's like how I think we are getting a lot of data, and I think it's a nice concept, and we are talking about big data and everything. But it's where do we change? Where do we start with the whole concept, and where we start with the whole thinking? Because I think with all the monitoring and all the sensors and everything, we are kind of also relying on the individual. Like for instance, with the traffics, with the individual cars. So we are kind of have to educate the drivers to accept a device, a monitoring device inside their cars. I think there's a like kind of very huge debates going on, which either they will find place, which is quite complicated, because people will then, they are misinformed on the one side, but on the other side, they will like, if they start to discuss, there are advantages and disadvantages. And on the other hand, if it's a top-down thing and it just goes down, it's maybe the simpler way, as you mentioned it, to show people what's the easier or the more optional way is. So I think it's quite a crucial debate which is going on. And for me, it's like really how much openness is good, how much transparency is good, especially like for a university, because we also know that if everything is open, everything is transparent, and we are reducing competitive behavior, which is not always good as well. As like in science, when different teams are working on the same problems, or maybe if they're working in a closed silos, they will get to specific results in another way with another point of view. So collaboration have advantages and disadvantages as well. So I think we are touching a lot of very interesting topics on one thing, but we're still like somewhere in like a little bit. I like the fuzziness of it because it's really it's a question of society, and I'm really interested because it's like the IT department, like the IT people are here, but actually the sociologists should be here, and like the anthropologists and more of those who can bring it to society and bring people to get involved in it. Because it's like, it's one thing to just provide information, like open data. I mean, yeah, it's great, we've got open data. Who's using it? Who's watching it? Who has the ability to interpret it and to read it from the normal population? The same is like if you're going out and ask people questions, like if they don't connect it to it, if they don't relate to it, they're not interested because it's already too much information out there. So if you got the possibilities, but what is it for you as an individual? So I think that would be an interesting part, like question for me. Where do you think we should actually start it? Is it like in education, where we have the example with the school, or is it like? Is it in our society? Is it Europe? Is it like where?
Maybe just, I think you touch a point that is really interesting. For instance, from my professional work, we work with equal opportunities here at university. We have students with disabilities, and we have to offer them solutions and support, but sometimes the information about their medical situation cannot be public. By law, you cannot use that information and spread to the teachers that they will have, because they could get prepared before the course to offer better, but you cannot disseminate that information. So that tension is very real and practical. And my suggestion now is going down to earth, to these kind of fuzzy problems. Sometimes good to put and to practice. And as I know that you are having seminars and workshops tomorrow and maybe this afternoon too, I would challenge you, because you have, spoken little, but I'm sure you have plenty of ideas and capacities. Try to think how this kind of campus lab or a smart university could be implemented in practice. I think the Vice Rector said at the beginning also, and challenged you to have one single project that could improve this kind of quality of life in the campus, or collaboration in the to face the problem of silos and so on in practical, and identify one common problem that we have in the different universities and face it, because I'm sure that ITs can help a lot to solve. Just to make a comment, I'm not against technology, but I know perfectly technology is not neutral. So once you go and you adopt the technology, you cannot go back. So we will never go to the prehistoric situation that from a comment you said. But it's important to have a critical thinking about the technologies we adopt, and educate people in that critical thinking, I think, is a mission of university, if there is one. But otherwise, we can be a polytechnic just distributing instructions to people, but that's not being a university. I think it's a totally different mission.
Regarding that, I think that going down to earth, and the most you provide is more IT infrastructure and development, is that a thing about always enabling technologies. It's like when the people were creating the internet. They were not really solving social problems. They were not really, because sometimes we try to solve problems that are beyond our reach. You need to be honest with yourself. Can you really solve a social problem? If it's yes, go. Run. This is more important than anything else. If not, at least try that within your reach, you don't create new problems. You develop something which is enable to others, which is open, with open possibility, because that will allow other people to build on top, and other people build on top. At the end, somebody will actually solve the problem. But sometimes trying to directly solve a huge social problem is devastating, because you get really tired, because you never reach there. So keep a focus on a real problem, but then be honest with yourself. What can I do now? And just be sure you don't do something which is work or exists. Do something which is open and enable to others, basically. And keep the hope that will help.
I think it's becoming more and more interesting, this talk. But it's time. Like, we are seven minutes late. We're sure if you want to keep on talking about these topics, we are having now lunch in the gardens in these buildings. So you are welcome to join us, anybody in the room. Also, we are talking about transparency. We have a hashtag. It's called Smart University with a C. and we will post what we are doing during the rest of the week. And Gabriel?
Now the closure, the official closure. Thank you very much. I think it's very interesting, and I think that's the key. When you have this kind of interesting and you have to finish, you have to think about it. So I think it's a good way to end. No? We have heard several smart speakers that shared their point of view with us, and that was our goal, was to provide a wise, well, maybe a smart overview about the smart cities. I would like to thank all the speakers for their time and for sharing their knowledge with us. And at last but not least, all the Mobility Training Week team would like to thank you all for being here today. Now, let's go lunch. Thank you very much.